Ukrainian armed forces carried out a strike on the Russian command center of the Dnipro grouping. Russian telegram channel VCHK OGPU reports. Allegedly, there is at least one dead and several wounded. The Dnipro grouping was recently headed by Colonel General Teplinsky. Whether he was at the command post at that moment is unknown. The area of the strike has been cordoned off, and a command has been given to prevent the spread of information about the fact of the hit. Notably, it has been written many times that Teplinsky is in disfavor with Shoigu and Gerasimov, and allegedly, the Russian general staff would not mind getting rid of a general who is too independent. But if this information is true, and Teplinsky is knocked out in some capacity, it would be a big win for Ukraine. 1 year ago, we warned that Russian President Vladimir Putin was willing to trade more than 300,000 coffins for a modern-day Kievan Rus's empire. Yesterday, on Halloween, the devil got his due. Ukraine's defense ministry reported more than 300,000 Russian soldiers have been killed in action as a result of Putin's special military operation. Faustian deal or not, Putin's gambit is not paying off. The scale of Russian military losses over the past year is staggering, as is the accelerating rate of those killed. On January 1st, Ukraine reported 106,720 Russian soldiers had died. By June 1st, losses had nearly doubled to 208,370 killed, it said. After only 10 months this year, Putin is now closing in on tripling his losses in Ukraine, and at a rate nearly double that which he lost during the first year of the war. It is not sustainable and is suggestive that the Russian Defense Ministry may be nearing culmination in Ukraine, or has effectively already culminated. At a minimum, Putin has expended Russia's best-trained forces. The battle for Avdiivka is Putin's latest nightmare in a year of unending horrors. Losses are far worse than in Bakhmut and exponentially so. Moscow's attempted encirclement of Avdiivka was likely designed to coincide with Hamas's terrorist attack on Israel, launched on October 9th. It began 2 days after the Iran-backed terrorist group unleashed a horrific attack on Israeli civilians and foreign nationals, prompting a war in Gaza that threatens to spread. Yet whereas Bakhmut was a battle of the Somme-like meat grinder decimating waves of Russian infantrymen and PMC Wagner paramilitary forces, Avdiivka has also witnessed the pulverizing of Russian mechanized and armored brigades in less than 1 month. Putin evidently has learned little since Bakhmut. He appears to keep failing to consider rapidly changing realities on the battlefield in Donetsk that are emerging because of condition-setting criteria established by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his generals. Moscow's decision-making is predicated upon Russian artillery being king, but it no longer is. Ukraine's military has directed much of its attention the past several months to locating and destroying Russian artillery systems, counter-battery formations, and their ammunition stores. The evidence is in the raw numbers and trends. Since June, the Defense Ministry says Ukraine has nearly doubled the amount of Russian artillery it has destroyed. Now reportedly 7,227 pieces. Even if we discount the whole numbers, it is the trend that matters. And clearly Putin is losing the war of artillery attrition. He should have known better. Russian Major General Ivan Popov tried warning him in July. Popov claimed Moscow was angry with him for pointing out that Russia was losing the counter-battery fire war with Ukraine, particularly the shortage of radars tracking enemy artillery, which was resulting in massive Russian casualties. Russian casualties in Ukraine have become worse since Popov was fired. Nonetheless, Putin remains nonplussed and undeterred by the Russian death toll in Ukraine. According to the Institute for the Study of War, the Russian military command appears to have committed most of the 8th Combined Arms, Army of the Southern Military District, and transferred elements of the Central Military District for offensive operations in the Avdiivka area. The Institute also reported that Ukrainian military analyst Kostyantin Mashovets concluded that Russian forces in the Avdiivka direction have elements of 12 separate motorized rifle brigades, 16 separate rifle regiments of the Mobilization Reserve, 22 separate rifle battalions of the Mobilization Reserve, 11 separate tank battalions, a separate motorized rifle battalion, and 3 consolidated tactical detachments of the battalion level, including BARs, Russian Combat Army Reserve, and Storm Z units. If these numbers are accurate, the failure by Russian ground forces to encircle and seize Avdiivka is telling. Sheer mass and repeated failed frontal assaults by poorly trained, equipped, and led soldiers does not win wars, especially in the context of Ukraine reporting that Putin lost 4,000 soldiers, which, if true, would be, as the Kyiv Independent describes, the worst casualty rate of the war. Up-to-date numbers are not yet available. However, Ukraine claims it destroyed more than 400 Russian armored vehicles, although the Institute for the Study of War assessed it at 109 as of October 20th. Putin likely pushed ahead, counting on Western mainstream media to be distracted by the widening war in Israel. To that end, his gamble worked. Many media outlets ignored his counterattack in Donetsk. Still, where it counts most, on the battlefield, Putin is failing in Avdiivka, Ukraine's counter-battery fire, and more recently, its use of Attack-MS-delivered cluster munitions have been game-changers. Putin needs a game-changer of his own before new US and NATO weapon systems come online in Ukraine, including F-16 fighter jets, Germany's Taurus cruise missile, longer-range ATAC-MS munitions, and the M1 Abrams main battle tank. Putin soon may try to freeze the battlefield and/or seek a ceasefire or settlement to regroup and fight another day. This might explain why Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu stated in his remarks during his trip to the Beijing-Xiangshan Forum on Monday that Moscow is ready for talks on the post-conflict settlement of the war in Ukraine. If that happens, the West must not be deceived. Putin cannot be trusted to honor his word. Russia has a long history of using ceasefires and peace plans to buy time that's needed to reconstitute its armed forces and then resume their assault. Besides, Ukraine has momentum. Why would Kyiv settle for a ceasefire when they can remove the threat and regain their country? Following a surge in anti-Semitic sentiment in the Dagestan region of Russia, the daily housing rental company Kakdoma 05 was accused of providing services to clients from Israel. The co-owner of the company, 33-year-old Layla, has recorded a video in which she stated that she would personally evict Jews if they appeared in one of her 47 apartments. And Russian invaded Ukraine because it's a Nazi state. Clowns.
Мы не заселяем евреев. У меня 47 объектов в городе. И за всеми я следила тщательно, а теперь буду еще более тщательно следить. Во всех квартирах имеются камеры. Ни один еврей, приехавший с Израиля, не заселится в наши квартиры. И даже если нас надурят, я посмотрю камеры и вычислю это, то я выселю его. Обязательно, поверьте мне. Прекратите, пожалуйста, нас проверять в Авито, спрашивать, сдаем ли мы квартиры евреям. Нет, не сдаем. Мы за народ Палестины.
Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.